students, how have you been? I hope there's been an improvement over our last class. In our last class, we discussed the endocrine system, which is a subtopic under homeostasis. Now, in our last class, I told you that you should read up on effect of oversecretion and undersecretion of some hormones. As I mentioned to you before, the body is a system, and everything has to be in harmony. There shouldn't be too much. At the same time, there shouldn't be too little. Now, we looked at some of these hormones and the glands that produces them, as well as where the glands are located in the body. I'm going to use this picture now. We look at some of, let's see if we can remember the name of the hormones. Here we have what? Which gland is here? We have the pituitary gland, which is the master gland. And we call it the master gland because it regulates the activities of other hormones in the body. Next, in the neck region, we have the thyroid gland. In the neck region, we have the thyroid gland. Then we have the thymus, right, a bit in the upper chest region. Then up in our lower abdomen, just on top of the kidneys, the two kidneys, we have the adrenal gland. We have the adrenal gland. When we move lower, this section is in female, where we have the ovaries that also produce some hormones as we already know. And in the lower part, we have the testes in male, which also produces some hormones. Let's look at it over here. Major endocrine glands in the body. We have, this is an hermaphrodite. We all know what an hermaphrodite is. So we have the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the thyroid gland, the thymus, the adrenal gland, the pancreas, the ovary in female, and the testes in male. As I told you, this is an hermaphrodite. One part a female and the other part a male. Now we discuss the functions of this hormone. Each of these glands produces different types of hormone. The pituitary gland, for instance, produces an hormone that is called somatotropin, which is the growth hormone, as we know, and it produces a lot of hormone. And as we know, it is called the master gland, basically because it regulates other activities in the body. So let's look at some of the effects of oversecretion and undersecretion of some of these hormones. Somatotropin, which we know is a growth hormone produced by the pituitary gland in the brain region. Somatotropin, when it is too much, oversecretion of somatotropin leads to something that is known as gigantism in children. When you see a little child of about 5 appearing to be about 15 in their structure, it leads to gigantism in the children. The child appears like a giant. Or acromegaly in adults. Acromegaly in adults. That is the effect of oversecretion of somatotropin. For undersecretion, it is the opposite of oversecretion, which means it leads to what is known as dwarfism. Dwarfism. So undersecretion of somatotropin leads to dwarfism. Our next location is the thyroid gland, which produces tyrosine. Tyrosine, as we know, controls the metabolic rate in the body. It controls the rate at which we respire, the rate at which we digest our food, and so on and so forth. So when tyrosine is oversecreted, it leads to hyperactivity. We call that condition hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism. That is a situation in which there is excess of tyrosine in the blood. So when there is excess of tyrosine in the blood, the person is hyperactive. There is an increase in metabolic activity, as a result of which it leads to high blood pressure. It leads to fatigue because the person is all the systems in the body are functioning in excess. It also leads to anxiety, because you have enough energy in the body to utilize with nothing, very few to do. And the opposite happens when it is under secretion. The opposite of hyperthyroidism is hypothyroidism. Now, when we're discussing homeostasis, I differentiated between an hypertonic and an hypotonic solution to it. Hyper is over-concentrated, excessive, like hypertension. Hypo is the opposite, which is little. So So for hyperthyroidism, this is a situation in which the metabolic rate in the body is very high, leading to fatigue, anxiety, and the rest. While hypothyroidism is when it is very low, so it leads to sluggishness. For this, it also leads to weight loss because you are just burning the energy in your body as well as and so on and so forth. Next, we have the parat hormone. We have the parat hormone produced by the parathyroid gland located very close to the thyroid gland. So for the parat hormone, it controls the calcium level in the body. When it is in over secretion, it leads to bone softening because there is too much calcium in the bones, and there is too much of this hormone in the blood. It is the one that controls our calcium content. So excessive production of it leads to bone softening. It makes the bone soft. While when it is under secreted, it leads to under secretion of parat hormone result in a condition known as tetany, also called muscle spasm. Now, this may even lead to death. The under secretion of parat hormone may result in death. Our next hormone is the adrenaline, produced by the adrenal gland, one of our favorite hormone of all times. As we know, the adrenaline is the hormone that prepares the body for action, which is why we call it the fight or flight hormone. When you hear doom somewhere outside, this is the hormone that will help you to know whether you want to run or you want to face whatever is coming. Now, for the adrenaline, as we know, it regulates the rate at which we respond in emergency situation. So when it is over secreted, we are over anxious. When it is in the body, it leads to anxiety, high blood pressure, restlessness. You are ready for action, but your body is not performing enough action to meet up with the excessive hormone. So it leads to high blood pressure, anxiety, and so on and so forth. And under secretion of this hormone is just result in the opposite. The person is very weak. The person responds to danger slowly. Not the rate at which the person responds to the environment is very slow, and low blood pressure, and so on and so forth. Next, we have the testosterone. Testosterone, which we know that it is the hormone that is responsible for secondary reproductive characters in male. That is this part of my hermaphroditic human. This part. So the testosterone is produced in the testes, as we know, and it is responsible for secondary reproductive characters in male. If it is over secreted, we have it that the male reproductive part is excessively developed. The child develops secondary characters very fast, and then the person has high stamina for sex. Let's just say the person has a very high stamina for sex. There's always this urge to have sex for testosterone, and when it is under secretion, the opposite happens. The reproductive system is underdeveloped. There is low urge for sex. Finally, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen is the female equivalent of the testosterone, as we are aware before, while progesterone is the pregnancy hormone. It is the hormone that is activated during the pregnancy stage, prepare your body for a baby. Now, for estrogen and progesterone, their functions are tied. When they are in over-secretion, just like in the male, the female develops secondary characters very quickly. So we have a little child developing sexual characteristics. So it makes the reproductive system of female to develop quickly, and there is an excessive urge for sex also in the female. And when it is in under secretion, the opposite occur. The reproductive system is not well developed, and then there is also a low urge for sex. And this is how it about our hormones. We know we have many hormones. There are many more. We have the insulin, we have the glycogen, and you are going to do some research for me. What is the effect of over-secretion and under-secretion of insulin and glycogen? As we know, this is another important hormone in the body, and they both function opposite in each other. Insulin, from our last class, we learned insulin converts excess blood sugar to what? To glycogen. Insulin converts excess blood sugar to glycogen, while glucagon does the opposite. It reconverts glycogen back to sugar. Assignment: insulin and glucagon. Insulin and glucagon, effect of over-secretion and under-secretion of both of them. We know their function. For each of the following hormones, list 2 effects of over-secretion and 2 effects of under-secretion. So we are going to write 2 effects of over-secretion, 2 effects of under-secretion. You can make it in a tabular form, or you can just write it. So we have parathormone, adrenaline, and estrogen. Next, explain the following terms. In the course of discussing some of this over-secretion and under-secretion, we saw some words that we are not used to on a daily basis. This should have been your project at you being in school, but as you are told, you can just make a little research on it. Now we are supposed to make you were supposed to research extensively on them, but due to the situation on ground, we just make do with explaining the term. We have cretinism, gigantism, hyperthyroidism. This is a Y. We also have acromegaly. 13. Look at each of those words. And then, not to forget, we also have a condition known as insulin shock. All these are in relation to over-secretion or under-secretion of hormones. You can contact me on WhatsApp, drop your assignments, your questions, any queries, or on my email address. Do not forget, we are your all science students. I do not need to remind you of this again. We know how viruses are spread, and we know what to do to avoid them. If you must go out, do take the necessary precaution. Make sure that you are ready and kitted for going out. Wash your hands, keep your hands clean, which is even the normal hygiene as Muslims that we should occur. So may Allah protect us and our family. I hope to see you next time. Have a nice holiday, and do not forget to contact me with your questions, suggestions, or any other thing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.